what's going on for you with your LSAT prep and how I could help.
I feel like I'm really struggling with the logical reasoning, specifically the sufficient and necessary. Because I feel like if you know the sufficient and necessary, then you could pretty much understand everything else. And I just feel like I keep getting stuck there. I feel okay with logic games. I feel okay with the reading comp. Like, I'm still working on my timing and stuff, but when it comes to logical reasoning, I continue to get stuck. So I don't know if I'm missing like a trick or something, but I keep getting stuck right there. It doesn't matter what kind of question it is. It could be a principal question. It could be a parallel question. I just keep getting stuck.
I hear you. So where are you at with necessary and sufficient indicator words?
I feel like I'm pretty good. I always feel like I have to go back. I have a notebook where I have every one of them. And I feel pretty good. Like if I see something, I'll be like, wait a minute. Okay. Like it will come to me like, okay, I understand that that's a necessary or sufficient. I feel okay with them. Like I'm still trying to study them so that when I read the stem that it'll just pop out to me.
Right. Okay. So if you have the indicator words, you know what they are, you know how to spot them, then you can turn any conditional statement into a diagram. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you should do that on test day, but just to improve your understanding of conditionality when it comes up, you could diagram every conditional you see simply as an exercise.
Okay. Is there any way to give me an example of something?
Yeah, sure. So whenever I eat pizza, I'm happy. That's an example.
Okay.
So how would you diagram that?
So whenever, right, is whenever a necessary condition, if I have to look back on my notes.
But what's the if? Can you just try to rephrase that as an if-then statement? Forgetting the words for a second.
Okay. So whenever I eat pizza, I get happy?
Yeah. Whenever I eat pizza, I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay. So eating pizza makes me happy?
Good.
Is that, you want me to break it down a little bit more? Like how would I?
Well, if you say eating pizza makes me happy, that could change the meaning slightly. So I want you to simply frame that as if then.
Okay. So if I eat pizza, I'm happy?
Perfect.
Okay.
So whenever is a sufficient condition indicator.
Okay. So whenever you can turn that around to an if, correct?
Exactly. So whenever and if are the same thing. And so whenever is one of your indicator words for sufficient conditions.
I'm just taking notes.
Yeah, sure, of course. So indicator words are useful. You could memorize them with flashcards. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it's one option if you have trouble making them stick.
And I did think about that, like getting some flashcards just because I have so much going on. I feel like when everything was normal, I was able to study without all the distractions that are happening in my home. So now it's like trying to find time is really, really hard.
Sure. Yeah, you got to carve it out wherever you can.
Yeah. So it's like I'm trying to sneak in early mornings, late nights, just wherever I can. So I did think about flashcards, like putting indicator words on there so that when I see them, they just pop up.
Yeah, exactly. So put on one side the indicator word, the other side is it sufficient or necessary, and then just run through them till they become automatic.
Okay. So I did sign up. This was way before I had signed up for the June LSAT test. I had automatically, I guess it turned in, I automatically am now in the flex test. I had called because I wanted to switch it and I missed my deadline to call in. I was like, so now I will be taking the test June 15th and I don't feel like 100% ready. At the time when I did sign up for it, I thought, well, I've been studying since like November, but I'm not like I should be, I think. So do you have any tips to help me with the June LSAT flex that I could probably work on right now?
Well, I'll address this on two levels. And yes, I could
Okay.
give you advice specifically for June 15th, but I also want to question a little bit whether you need to take it then or should take it then. So one thing is you could try pushing back on LSAC a little bit about
Okay.
missing the deadline. They have shown some flexibility in certain circumstances. And so you've paid your $200, but
Yeah.
that was for an in-person experience that they're no longer offering due to COVID craziness, especially if you're teaching your kids from home, you're juggling a lot. It's easy to
Yeah.
miss a deadline. Depending on who you get, they might be more understanding. You could call back and try somebody else and then see if you can get that coupon to take it later, like in July or
Okay.
August or beyond.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would consider doing, especially because there's not a whole lot of point in taking it if you don't think you're going to be ready.
Yeah. I'm not fully ready. I know that for sure. I thought when I did sign up for it, I felt I was going to be more ready. And then all this happened. So I'm not ready. I don't feel ready. And
Understand.
I want to be successful when I am ready. I don't want to score, low. And then you work so hard studying and then a low score and then you get disappointed, which I know I could take it again, but $200 each time can be difficult.
Yeah. So I would see if you can get a coupon to do a later date, like July or August or even October.
Okay.
Then we could also talk about just simply what would you do if you were to take the June LSAT Flex, which is really in just about 2 weeks, a little more.
Yeah.
So have you done any timed exams in that format, 3 sections?
A while ago had ordered another online program that I have been doing. It's just a little bit harder. I feel like I need to talk to somebody because there's a lot of questions that I have. So just watching different videos, it doesn't answer all the questions and answers some of them. I'll be honest, I've been looking at a lot of your YouTube that you post, even on the Instagram, like any little chance I get, anything you post, I'm like watching it, trying to take it in. So a lot of things I've learned from your LSAT course, really, the YouTube one was, reading the question first before I start reading the whole stem. When I'm reading comp, what I've been doing is reading the reading comp and going to the easier questions. You talked about that the other day, like going to the ones, what is it about? Like instead of going to those hard questions. Some other things I've been doing is really working hard on the sufficient and necessary, the logical reasoning. I have not been able to take a time test though. That was something I was going to work on this week. I did do one maybe 3 weeks ago. And I did not do that great. I had a lot of distractions going on, so I have to figure doing it somewhere else outside of the house. So that's why I said I don't feel exactly ready.
I hear you. And that's going to be something to figure out for the actual LSAT Flex when you take it. You've already booked your time slot. You've got 2 hours where you don't want any background noise or interruptions, and maybe even longer than 2 hours to have a buffer in case of anything. Like the proctors, there being a delay to get a proctor, for example. That's something that happened for the May. And hopefully it won't happen for June, but you do want to have more than 2 hours where someone else is watching the kids, let's say. Yeah.
It has been really hard. I've really been studying so hard on sufficient and necessary that I don't know if I'm even studying correctly. I don't know if you get to the point where you're like studying so much, reading questions, doing it over and over and over, then I'm seeing, am I even doing this right? I don't know. Like I even was questioning myself, like, should I even be doing this right now? And I don't want to stop studying because I've noticed even taking a day or two off, it almost throws me off.
Yeah. If you need to keep the momentum going and studying every day is part of that for you, then it's hard when you have all these competing obligations and you're quarantined, kids at home and all that. Definitely makes it harder. And so I would just first off be patient with yourself. And then secondly, as you're aware, not trying to rush it for June. And so whether they give you flexibility with June or not, I would aim to make your real test date later. And if you do have to keep June because they won't give you a refund on it, you could consider that a dry run and then cancel the score. or consider a dry run. And if you did better than you thought, maybe keep the score. But either way, I wouldn't make June your last opportunity.
Okay. And that's what I thought. Like, I don't really, if they don't let me, I was just going to say, okay, I'm just going to go for it, do the best that I can. And I do know like there's other dates I could take the test.
For sure.
But do you think that's a good way? Like I've been putting in, so what I've been doing is I'll watch a video for 1 hour, you know, whatever. I have a course that I'm taking, but I'll watch maybe one of your YouTube videos and just hear how you're walking people through something, take notes, depending on what. So I've been studying on just, you know, logic games, logical reasoning, and reading comps. And those are the 3 tests that the Flex will be doing. And I'll watch the video for 1 hour, and then I'll go to the questions. Like I have a book that I just follow and just go from there. And I find myself watching the video, understanding, and then I get stuck at the questions because for one of them, you know, sometimes I can't find indicator words in those. So then I'm like, what do I do?
I hear you. Yeah, that without indicator words, it becomes tougher. But and then you have to apply more advanced techniques or just engaging with the argument more. You start opening this call talking about the conditional indicators, but we should also point out that not everything in logical reasoning is conditionality. There's also other types of reasoning as well. There's causal reasoning as well. You have to also deal with things like correlations that are not causal and not conditional either. So there's a lot to unpack in logical reasoning, and most of it actually can't be diagrammed. Most of it is more informal logic where you've got to engage in a real world sense. Like if you're having a conversation with somebody.
So that's why I was hoping that, so you're saying like when you're reading the STEM, like almost make it into a normal conversation. Is that how you're saying? Like the way you asked me to translate what you just said about the pizza, like how would I say that? So are you saying to take what I'm reading and make it into my own conversation, like my own words? Not
to make it into your own words necessarily, but to take the stimulus, the argument there, as if you were having somebody said that to you and you're pointing out why they're wrong. Like you're pointing out that there's a gap in their argument. There are some underlying assumptions that may or may not be true, or they may have failed to consider something.
Okay.
Then you also have fact sets. You have stimuli that are not even arguments, where it's just a bunch of information and you're inferring things based upon that, but you're not looking to poke holes in it. So there's a wide variety of logical reasoning stimuli, and not all of them are conditional. That's all I'm trying to point out here.
Okay. What do you think, like I've been timing myself on some stuff. What do you think time, like how much time should I have each question?
In logical reasoning?
Yeah. Like what should I be giving, like allowing each question like a certain amount of time?
I wouldn't ever actually time individual questions.
Okay.
I think it's a layer of stress that's more harmful than helpful. And not every question's of equal difficulty. You have on average about 1:25 per question on average. But there's a clear general order of difficulty in logical reasoning. So you might want to do the first 10 faster, build up a time bank that you could then apply to the tougher questions later in the section.
Towards the end.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a lot of your work should be timed as test day approaches. And so once you've built a good foundation and feel comfortable with the various question types, then timed sections, then later timed full-length exams as you get closer. And so I would want you to do at least a few timed exams between now and the June LSAT Flex if you do take it, just to simulate that ramp up, even if June is not your ultimate test. And then in the lead up to whatever your actual goal target test date is, I would aim to do at least 10 full-length timed exams before test day.
Okay.
And not doing all 10 in a week or two, of course, spreading them out over the course of a couple months, ideally.
Okay. If I am able to move the test date, like giving them some pressure, when do you think is a better time? Like maybe holding off? Like do you think August, September? Obviously, I'm not looking to get in this fall. I would like to get in next fall.
really whenever you'll be ready, whenever you'll have the time to devote to it. So if you
Okay.
look over this summer, obviously there's a lot uncertain right now. Do you anticipate potentially having enough time to study between now and the August LSAT?
I do, because I guess I've been really figuring things out here in quarantine. So I guess I could look at that like if it was summer, right? Getting up earlier before kids wake up, before I have to log on to my own job. But I just want to feel more comfortable, like you said, before I take the test. And if I have to take it June, I guess, like you said, this will be like a tester, what it possibly could look like in August, unless they go to the full exam.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I would say if you feel like this summer could be good for you, then you could register for August and aim for that. It's at the end of August, which gives you a bit more time.
Yeah. Do you think 1 to 2 hours a day, though, is good studying? I have looked at your, scheduling. I've seen how you break it up. Like you showed like in the morning, at work, like you could do lunchtime, in the evening. And I had tried prior, before all this happened, I was sort of following that schedule, and then everything happened and everything changed. What type of scheduling, what do you think, like for a mom in quarantine who works still, what would be a good schedule, do you think, for studying right now?
It's pretty much what I laid out, what you just described. It's fitting it in where you can. So waking up early before the kids do, knocking out some time there, knocking out time before you have to start the workday. If they have some sort of activity somewhere, unlikely these days, but maybe it comes up sometimes, that would be a time for it. And then after they go to bed. But if you're managing them and working at the same time, there's only so much you could do. And I think you just have to be compassionate for yourself and recognize that you may not be able to do more than 1 to 2 hours without cutting significantly into your sleep, which is of course really important too.
And I've noticed when I try to do it later at night when everybody's asleep, I'm not even mentally, I'm reading, but I'm just reading. I'm not even comprehending what I'm reading. So it's like during the day, early morning is best where I'm fresh. It's just finding that time, getting it in there. So it's been very difficult. I'm hoping to get some sessions with you. I know that this was the first initial free one. So I was hoping to do some courses. I know you have different ones that are available. So I'm hoping to do that.
Great.
I really enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad we connected. Please feel free to reach out whenever you're ready to take those next steps. I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think from here, like you said, for my logical reasoning, those are some things I'm going to work on, like getting some flashcards, like really understanding those indicator words, and trying to do those first 10 faster, like you said, timing myself, maybe trying to do 10 full tests, not obviously all together, but breaking them up and seeing where I'm at from there.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you have a game plan for the short term, at least.
Yeah, the short term. Hopefully I can switch the LSAT Flex. I'm hoping they can be flexible with me.
I hope so. Well, let me know. Keep me posted on that.
I will. I did have one quick question. I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, sure. We could address it. Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So on the games, I've been timing myself on games. I've been averaging 9 minutes on each game. And I don't know if I heard from you or from somewhere, I should be at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. Is that correct?
Well, that's the average amount of time you have per game if you have 4 games over 35 minutes. But not every game is of equal difficulty. So just like I said, don't time individual LR problems. Don't time individual games either. You can be aware of it, but some games are easier, some games are harder. So some games will realistically take more than 10 minutes, and that's fine.
Okay. All right. I think it's good to talk to somebody, ask these questions, because sometimes when you're just hearing it, you're not able to interject and say, well, hold on, I've been taking longer here.
Mm-hmm. Or what about this? What about that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Steve, thank you so much. I mean, this has really been helpful for me. I know you probably have a lot more to do. I'm hoping to get the sessions going with you within the next week or so, if I can move back this June LSAT and definitely connect with you. But this has definitely been helpful for me. Something that you said that I should have just did when I thought about it was the flashcards. I thought about that, but moving on it, I got wrapped up with everything else. And I was like, I should get flashcards. I thought about that. I really did.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad this was helpful. I'm glad you're going to take some action as a result of this call, and keep in touch, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.